Thank you. Thank you so much, Carolyn. I really appreciate having the invitation to come and present Scarf Tie Magic, which is very dear to my heart. And I certainly want to ask Clay, thank him for actually encouraging me to do this particular Zoom class. And I think his friend Tom Cross had actually pestered him to get me to do this. You know, scarves have, as I said last week, been around before Christ. So scarves are not new. And I actually didn't ever dream that I would be writing a book, Scarf Tie Magic. But I looked back at some pictures, and there was a picture of me when I must have been maybe 5 or 6 years old, and I was wearing a scarf. And then, of course, getting into grade school, junior high school, when I was a cheerleader, we wore scarves. Then I was a majorette and we wore scarves. I've just always lived with scarves. Many people have asked, well, how did you learn to tie them and how did you come up with the different ties? You know, when you get into tying scarves, you will be creative yourself and actually figure out a new way of wearing a scarf. So what I'd like to do, because there are some people that have told me they didn't get to visit our last session, I just want to recap and tell you what we did last week. And what I have done is I've taken all of the scarf ties that we tied and I've put them on hangers. You know, we talked about the most important tie. Who remembers what that is?
This way, one
the
this
square
way.
knot.
Yeah.
And this particular tie is so important because there are other ties made up of the square knot. And then, of course, we talked about the eye of the needle. This is the eye of the needle. And then I came up out of necessity, the secret eye of the needle. Do you remember? You go up under your bra strap.
Oh,
and
yeah.
the secret eye of the needle. We're going to actually do these in a few moments after I recap what we did last week. And then there is the dog cross. And the dog cross is a very easy tie and can be done with a lot of different types of scarves. This is the dog cross, and it's a very long, wide scarf. We talked about the Duchess of Windsor. You remember I told you last week, the full Windsor is what a fellow would wear under his shirt. And I came up with what I call the Duchess of Windsor, which is much easier. And this is the Duchess of Windsor. Who remembers what my favorite tie is? You remember? It is the fan. And I showed you last week the beautiful scarf that Dr. Burks wore in the briefings. This was the scarf, and I discovered that I had the same scarf. This is called the cherry blossom. and we'll tie my favorite tie, which I call the fan. And we'll do that together in a few minutes. And what was the very simple tie? The simple tie I call the bandeau. And this is a rectangle scarf. Many people call it the oblong. And there's a little rubber band here that is tucked around the scarf. That was with a rectangle scarf. You can do the bandeau with a square scarf. This particular one is a heavier scarf, so I used a hairband rather than a rubber band. And then I took a brooch and pinned it right into the band for the hair. Actually, I have a patent on a scarf clip adapter, and that would have to be another class. The adapter will take the brooch and turn it into a scarf clip. And you remember I talked to you about 3 basic shapes of scarves: the oblong, which I call the rectangle, the square, and the bias scarf. And we did the snake tie with the biased. Now, the bias scarf is cut on the diagonal of the material. And we talked about the accordion. The accordion scarf is very simple. It's just taking a scarf and actually folding it over into a rectangle. We talked about making a face mask, making a face covering with the bandit. And we're going to do the bandit tie in a few minutes. The bandit is actually, you have to have a square scarf to do the bandit tie. And we also talked about the bat wing. The bat wing tie is a very nice tie. You almost have like a collar, and you end up with that most important tie called the square knot. And we also talked about the butterfly. The butterfly is also done with a square scarf. And last but not least, but the one that you can work with, a long scarf. You tie the ends and you actually make a shrug, a shawl covering with little armholes. So let's now get out your scarf. And let's start with a square. Pull out your square scarf and we're going to practice a square knot. By the way, I'm wearing the fan, And you know, I had this tied already. And I mentioned this last week. You can have a tie already tied or a scarf already tied. And all you have to do is just take it right off, put it on. I have a little stand over here that I can just put this right on. So first of all, pull out your square. I showed you this scarf last week. It's a smaller scarf. It's the Mona Lisa. It's a 20-inch square. Now fold your square scarf into a triangle by taking two ends together and bringing it into a triangle. And of course, put the fold right behind your neck. I can see some of you are doing this right along with me. And last week, I asked you to memorize these few words. If you memorize these words, you'll always get your square knot. It is right over left, up under, and tie. Most people get the square knot to this point. They get it correctly. But then what happens? They twist it around, back and forth, but you want to keep it straight. And now take left over right, up under, and through that knot, and then tie it. Come back and open up the little knot so that it is square. How many of you have a rectangle scarf? If you have a rectangle scarf, let's practice the square knot. It might be a little easier with a rectangle. Half up your scarf and put it right around the back of your neck. You remember our words. Right over left, up under, and tie. Be sure not to twist it. Now we're going to do the same thing on the left side. Left over right, up under, through the knot, and tie. And there you have your square knot. That is what I consider the most important tie, because there's so many other ties that go into the square knot. All right, did all of you get that? The square knot? It looks as if most of you tied the square knot. Let's do the eye of the needle. This, once again, is an easy tie. Of course, anything is easy when you know how to do it, right? Okay, take your rectangle, fold it in half. That's right. Now put this right around the back of your neck and feed the other end through the eye of the needle, and then pull it down to whatever is comfortable for you. You heard me say last week that I like things tight around my neck. But if you don't want it tight around your neck, just loosen it up and then take one end and pull it right around and that will tie it off. Did all of you get that? It looks as if I think all of you got that.
If somebody didn't
Eye
get it,
of the needle.
Bobby
Now,
Jean, if somebody doesn't get it, can they just unmute and ask you a question? Would that be okay?
okay,
Okay, so if you don't get it and you want to just ask Bobby, you can just unmute yourselves. But I think everybody's good.
and we can do it again. Fold it in half, put it right around the back of the neck. Take your thumb, index finger, forefinger, right through the eye of the needle and feed the scarf right through the eye of the needle and then pull it around until it's tight. Or, as I said, if you would like it loose, just loosen it up. Now,
No other knot
let's
in there.
do the secret eye of the needle. You know, the mother of invention is necessity. One day I was at I think it was a conference, and my scarf kept moving around. So I came up with what I call the secret eye of the needle. You fold this in half, even it up, cross over and pick up your bra strap. Feed this through the bra strap, open up the eye of the needle with your thumb and your index finger, and then take the end and feed it through the eye of the needle and tie it right up to your bra strap. You can let it float to the front. As you heard me say, I like to put one to the front and one to the back. Just makes it maybe a little more interesting. The secret eye of the needle. The next one that we'll do is called the dog cross. And this is a very good tie for the fellas, especially in the wintertime. The dog cross can be done with a square, but you have to fold it into a bias in order to get, and it needs to be a large square, but it's easier to do with a long rectangle or oblong. And this particular scarf is a cut velvet, and I'm going to do the dog cross, but I left this tag on the scarf so I could tell you it's really much nicer to take these tags off. And as I told you last week, I used to catalog all of my scarves and say how much I paid for it, where I purchased it, when I purchased it, so that I would always know and have the history of the scarf. And what you want to do is to cut the tag off. You can use, of course, cuticle scissors, but I like to use a seam ripper. Be sure when you are cutting this off to cut away from the scarf, not into the scarf, because I have actually cut a hole in one or two of my scarves. So take the seam ripper and go away from the scarf and take the tag off. Then you're ready to go. So let's do the dog cross. Take your scarf in the middle, put it right around the back of your neck, and then pull one end a little longer and wrap it right around the neck. And then you have a beautiful dog cross. And as I said, this works really well for the fellas, and it's nice over a coat, a jacket, a sweater. This particular scarf is my daughter's, but it's nice and long, and this would be one that a fellow certainly could wear. Pulling it right around. If you want it tight around your neck, you just pull it down tight. If you don't, if it's long enough, then you can loosen it up and you have a nice dog cross. With the rectangles, you have many different sizes. My friend June said she wanted me to see this scarf. I said, oh, I want to show this scarf. This scarf was brought to her, I think, from Israel, and it's for the men, and it's called a survival scarf. I like that. A scarf is something that will help you survive. I've always said that a scarf was your security blanket because you need to have a scarf in your tote bag, wrapped around your handbag. Now, from the dog cross, do any of you have any questions about what we've just done?
Mm-mm.
Anybody, any questions? And if you want to put them in the chat too, I could read those to Bobby Jean.
I guess
Love that
everyone
dog
is
crawl.
getting all tied up.
Well, we just had somebody say love the dog cross.
Yeah, love the dog crawl.
Right. The dog cross is a simple tie, and it is so functional, so important to keep your neck warm in the wintertime. And it's just an easy tie to always have in your repertoire of scarf ties.
Bobby Jean, I'd like to just share that when I was in Europe, I saw many men doing the eye of the needle scarf tie. That was all the
Really?
rage in Italy. Yeah. I mean, haven't been there in a few years, but that was very much what I saw all the men doing.
And the eye of the needle, along with the dog cross, is a nice tie for a man. And I have seen many different men do that eye of the needle.
Yes.
Of course, they can't do the secret eye of the needle.
No, that is a limitation, but
unless they'd be wearing a bra.
no.
Okay, let's do the fan. You remember I had the fan on when we started our class. You can do the fan with a rectangle, oblong. That's what I had on this today. But you can also do it with a square. But with doing the fan with a square, you have to fold it into a bias shape. And of course, last week, I did show you how to do the bias fold. And I want to show you how to do that again. So if you have a square scarf, lay it down on your desk or wherever you have a flat surface. And what you're going to do is to take one end fold it right into the middle. Then take the other end and fold it to the middle. Then you fold again. And of course you fold again. And depending upon how wide you want it, that's your choice. But I'm going to make this one a little narrower. And now I have created a biased scarf with the bias fold out of a square scarf. So now what we're going to do is to put this right around the back of the neck, come about a third of the way up. This happens to be a 45-inch square scarf, so I have plenty of room. A third of the way up, and now we're going to do an overhand knot. This is a loose overhand knot, not a tight one. We're going to tie it at the end. Come to the other end of your scarf. And as I said to you last week, we made little paper fans when we were in grade school. That's what we're going to do. I want you to go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. If you don't want it tight around your neck, you would just do a few folds. But I like to make it tight around my neck, so I'm going to make more folds. You drop one end, holding the folds. Take your left hand and grab all of those folds. Now what you're going to do is to take your thumb and your index finger through the loose knot on the other side. And you're going to feed those folds through the knot. Now it's important that you only bring this halfway through. If you pull it all the way through, you've actually lost your fan. So you want to go halfway through and then look for your tail. Well, the tail of the scarf, that is, and you tie the knot. And you can certainly wear it to the front, or, as you heard me say, I like to wear it to the side. And that's exactly what I had when we started the class. So should we go over that again? What I'm going to do this time is to show you the fan, not with a square, but with a rectangle. So if you have a rectangle scarf, pull that out. And what we will do is I'll show you layering a scarf, layering several scarves if you want.
Excuse me, before you do that, Bobby Jean, Anita, you have your hand raised. Did you want to ask a question?
Right. Anyone have a question?
Let me see.
I guess everyone is getting it. Okay, this is a rectangle scarf. And you remember I told you I had a shop and we sold scarves for chemotherapy patients, and I could show you how to tie your head up with a scarf, but that would have to be another class. This has the October breast cancer ribbon. And as my aunt would say, when she would come to visit, she would see something she liked and she said she acquired it. Well, that's what happened in my shop. If a scarf didn't sell, I would acquire it. So let's try the fan. Pull the rectangle right around the back of your neck, come a third of the way up, and tie a loose overhand knot. And on the other end, what we're going to do is to do the fan fold. We're going to go back and forth, back and forth. You know, if you need to practice this, you could lay it down on a table or your bed and fold the fan fold back and forth until you really get it. Fold it back and forth, and then you drop one end and pick up the folds. So it looks just like this. Then you take your index finger and your thumb through the loose overhand knot that you've tied. You feed the fan fold right through the loose knot, only halfway through, you remember. And now you tie the knot, pull it right around to the back of the neck. And since I have several of these scarves, I want to show you how to layer. You have your fan right around your neck, and I'm just going to take one other scarf right around. And what do you think I'm going to tie? You guessed it, the square knot. So right under my fan, it's right over left, up under and tie, and left over right, up under and tie. So now you've actually gotten a really nice layered look. And I guarantee someone will ask you, how did you get that particular tie? So did all of you get the fan? I'm seeing that most of you, it looks as if you did get the fan. And now I want to show you a nice, easy tie. And I call it the bandeau. The bandeau tie can be used certainly with a square scarf or an oblong rectangle. Since I call it the bandeau, what do you think I use? Right, it's a rubber band. I think I showed this to you last week using a rectangle, but I thought it would be interesting to bring out a square scarf. And of course, this is a large square that has a lot of hearts on it. So it's nice to wear at Valentine's Day. And if we have time, we'll talk about how to store your scarves and and go by season. Anyway, you have your square and you fold it into a triangle. Put it right around the back of your neck. Because this particular scarf is a little heavier, the small little bando, rubber band, is actually a little too small. So I have, this is actually something used for your hair. It's just called a hairband. And you go breast high. Go right to your breast. You can go higher or lower. As I said, there's no right or wrong with scarf tying. So come breast high, put the bandeau, or this is a hairband, and pull it through. And there you have a bow to the front, or if you want to put it to the side, you can pull it right up to the side. So that's a very easy tie, the bandeau. You remember we talked about the bias scarf? You don't see the bias scarf very often, but they're out there. You just have to look for them. They're very slenderizing because a bias scarf will actually just float across your body. And now I want to show you what I call the snake. And I'm going to actually layer this. And you just twirl it around, or actually you can twist it around and put it right around the back of the neck. You probably can do this also with a long rectangle. And then twist this right around the neck. This actually is long enough that I could probably twist it again. And what do you think I'm going to tie? You guessed it, the square knot, right over left, up under and tie. And then left over right, up under and through the knot. Then you come back, open this up, and you remember we talked about layering, especially in the fall and the winter. It's nice to be able to layer. Then many times if I find a scarf on sale, I might even purchase two of the same style. Then you take your bias scarf, put it right around the neck. You can just let it float, or once again, you can put this right up under and tie a lower square knot. So it's just another way of making your scarf tying a little more interesting. Any questions? That's okay. I think I see someone raising their hand.
That's me. So, Bobby, I don't know if you remember me, but I used to come into your shop when you were next to Dover Saddle, where Dover Saddle is now. And is it Elmore Square, or I can never remember the names of these shopping centers. But do you remember when you had a shop over there and you did facials? Yeah, Virginia, Michelle. Anyway, it's good to see you again. And I have your book from the 80s, your Scarf Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I can barely hear you. Can you make it a little louder?
Let me see. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, I'll try. All right. I was just saying that I used to come into your shop back when you were in Albemarle Square or whatever that shopping center is near where
It's
Dover
Seminole
is.
Square.
Seminole Square. Yeah. And you did wonderful facials. And I remember you had that separate thing for breast cancer patients, which was so wonderful. And you did the wigs too, right? You helped people with their hair and the scarf tying.
Right.
So it's good to see you again. And I did have a question I have a lot of brooches. I kind of have a brooch collection, and I love the idea of using the brooch. So do you just tie it directly to the rubber band when you, like if you use the band, you just,
Right.
you just pin it? So you just pin it directly there onto the rubber band?
Right. And also, if any of you are at the center, I will bring some of the small little rubber bands, and I certainly will give you the rubber bands. And also, this particular one that I showed you in the beginning is with the hairband, because this particular scarf is a little heavier. And I took the brooch and put it right into the hairband, because you don't ever want to pierce a silk scarf
Right.
brooch. That's how I actually invented and got a patent on the scarf clip adapter. You can take your brooch and put it into the adapter, and then you don't have to pierce the silk or the fabric.
I'd love to get one of those. Where can you buy them? Can you order them online?
Did I put, yes. Mm-hmm.
Great.
Okay, let's go. Let's try to keep going so that we'll have enough time to go through all of the scarf ties. Let's do the bandit next. The bandit really needs to be done with a square. And the bandit is one that you can use as a face covering or a mask. This happens to be a Bob Mackie scarf, and all of his scarves were called wearable art. This happens to be a lady, and when you move, her face actually moves. So in doing this, if you have your square out, you can put it over your nose, but I'm going to actually put it around my neck so that you can hear me. You take the square and fold it into a triangle and put this to the back, cross it in the back, then take the two tails and come to the front and tie. What do you think I'm going to tie? That square knot. Right over left, up under and tie, and then left over right, up over and through the knot and tie. Now, you can use the bandit as a scarf tie. And when I used to go skiing, which was a long time ago, I would tie the bandit so that it would be tied around my neck. You know, if your neck is warm, you can be a lot warmer. And what you can do with this bandit is take that fold, and then if you want, you can fold it right over the knot, but you can also use it as a face covering. by pulling it up over your nose. Okay, now from the Bandit, I want to show you the bat wing because it really is such a beautiful tie that, and I use it quite often. If I can get this untied, the square knot is so tight, but right there it is. Okay, there. The bat wing, you can actually use a square, or you can also use a rectangle. Let's start with the square. This is once again a large square. It's 44 inches. You have to lay it down on a flat surface. So lay it down on your table, on your bed, and you have 4 corners in this rectangle. You're going to pick up diagonally the opposite ends. That would be 0.1 and 0.3. And when you pick it up, you have 2 little wings. Then you take this and put it right around the back of your neck. And what are you going to do? The square knot right over left up and then left over right up under and through the knot and tie. Then you have a beautiful collar, which we call the bat wing. You can do this bat wing with a rectangle. It's better if the rectangle is wide. Once again, you need to lay this down on your table, on your bed, and you're going to pick up the opposite ends. That would be 0.1 or 0.3. You have 2 points and right around the back of the neck, and here you are with the square knot once again. And we want to have time to actually show you the butterfly. You remember the butterfly is so beautifully tied. You can actually tie this and just put it right around your neck. And how you do this is with a square scarf. With the square scarf, you fold it into fourths, and then you will have the center of the scarf, and you tie a very tight overhand knot. From that point, you actually pick it up. You turn it to the front. This has a front and a back. Some scarves will have a front and a back. And you pick up, once again, the opposite ends of the scarf. And then you have your butterfly. As I told you last week, this was the Look Good, Feel Better scarf, which I used to volunteer at the hospital doing the Look Good, Feel Better program. The last one, and I think several of you have large scarves. This is the perfect tie for a large scarf. This happens to be one of the largest scarves that I have. And what you want to do is to fold it into a triangle and then tie a knot with the two ends. Come to the other end and tie a tight knot. You've made your armadillo. My friend Holly gave me this beautiful yellow scarf. And with your scarf, you actually have two armholes. So you put your arm in your scarf, armhole, come to the other end. This is so wonderful. If you ever go to dinner and you're out on the patio, you have this that you can cover yourself up and you won't be cold, or even in a restaurant, if you ever get to go to a restaurant after we get through the pandemic. Now, I want to ask you, do you have any questions? Or I guess what I'd like to ask is, what is your favorite tie that we've done? Any of you have a favorite?
I think the square knot, because it's so versatile. You can use it for so many.
The square knot, yeah, because
Yes.
it's so versatile. I agree.
It's so important that you learn that square knot.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, I've had people to ask me, well, where do you buy your scarves? And you know, there's so many different places. I like to buy local, but you have different museums. I have some scarves that people have given me from the Metropolitan Museum. Recently, we went to the Greenbrier, and my husband bought me a scarf at the Greenbrier for our 57th anniversary. So, you know, a scarf is just a wonderful way to remember memories. And I hope that I have inspired you to get out your scarves, to actually take a rectangle and make your own infinity scarf. And my daughter told me this, that she would twist her infinity scarves and make a donut and put it down in her tote bag so that she'd always have a scarf. So
Idea.
we have a lot of infinity scarves that I've made into donuts. And I guess what I also need to say is how you organize your scarves. You know, you can organize them according to seasons. You remember I showed you the Valentine scarves. I have all of my Valentine scarves together, and then the Christmas scarves I have together. So you can organize that way. I did show you last week that you always need to have your scarves in view. Remember that the pant hanger is one of the best ways to get your scarves organized. And you know, there's just so many different types of hangers for your scarves. This happens to be an owl.
Good one, that is.
And there's just a lot of different things that you can do with a scarf. I hope that I have inspired you. And someone last week made a statement and said that my presentation had actually given all of her scarves a new life. And I appreciate the comment. And actually, that was quite nice. And that's what this class has been about, is just inspiring you to actually get your scarves out, think about them. You know, when I get dressed, most of the time I'll pick out my scarf that I want to wear, and then I'll coordinate it with, I will coordinate my outfit to go with my scarf. So,
Bobby Jean,
yeah,
I think I see that you wear black, and it shows off all the different scarves that you have. So isn't it important that you have a wardrobe with a little black dress or solid color tops so that they really show off?
I think what you're saying is, what do you actually wear with a scarf? You want
Yeah.
to coordinate the color with whatever you're wearing. Today, I wore something dark so that the scarf would show up and you could see the scarf tie. But many times, as long as you coordinate the primary color of the scarf with whatever you're wearing, it will work. Many times people will ask me, well, would you ever coordinate different patterns? Yes, you certainly can do that. And I think I showed you this last week. This actually is 3 different colors. I made this scarf from a skirt that was too long. In my book, I show you how to make a bias scarf out of 7 inches of material. And I had so much material left that I made a bracelet. And you can see that this is actually 2 different patterns, but what pulls it together is the color, the navy blue color.
Bobby
So
Jean,
I see that
oh,
we're almost
yeah.
out of time.
I
If
just wanted to
see
mention,
you at the center, tomorrow I actually am coming to the center, and I'm going to bring my small little rubber bands so that if I see you there, I'll be happy to hand out the rubber bands. And also, you know, there are different scarves for different occasions. And when you go, if you ever get to go to the UVA football games again, you can wear your UVA scarf, the University of Virginia, and you can layer it with a coordinating scarf. So I hope that you have been inspired to get your scarves out and to update your wardrobe purely with a scarf.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming. I really have enjoyed being with you. I love talking about scarves.
and thank you, Bobby Jean. I just wanted to, I had one question and then a comment. So for those of you who weren't on last week, Bobby Jean has graciously given me the pages to the illustrations in her book of the scarves that she tied today and last week. So if you want a copy, please email me. My name is Carolyn, C-A-R-O-L-Y-N, at thecenterseville.org. I put that in the chat. Yep, they just look just like that. And I'd be happy to send you that on behalf of Bobby. And if you can't remember my email, just call the center and say, I want the scarf ties, put me through to Carolyn, and I'll get them to you. The other thing was Virginia asked about your scarf clip adapter. And I went online and I found the patent for it, but I'm not sure where we can get one. Do you know where you can get one?
Actually, you know, they have all been sold out
Oh,
because I got my patent back in the 80s. And we had a run on scarf clips adapters when scarves were so very important. And I don't think that they are available anymore because, as I said, they were all sold out.
gotcha. Well, I did go on Amazon and they had some things that looked kind of similar that might be able to work. So maybe typing in scarf clip adapter on Amazon, see what pulls up. Maybe that would be helpful.
Right, right.
Okay, great.
Okay, I hope all of you get all tied up in scarf tying magic so you can tie one on.